Hello, my name is Kai, and I am a bit of a rambler. I like to travel, learn, and tell stories. And today, another Ramble On. What's been going on? Still in Cusco, still cool. Alice in Borderland, have you heard of that? It's a Japanese show? Arisu? Yeah, so it's a Japanese show about these guys who get left behind the rest of the world, and the rest of the world, all the people in it disappear, and then they're forced to play games where they murder each other. And it was pretty good. I watched all 3 seasons. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the problem with it was that the games were not winnable. You just had to lose them very often. So it wasn't very suspenseful because it didn't so much feel like Squid Game. It felt much more just like Jason X. It just felt like a horror movie where they kill everybody. So the games weren't as interesting. Actually, that's not true. The games were interesting. The games were fun. It's just that they were completely unfair. So it wasn't like, okay, at least it's fair. Like a person could do this if they were good in that skill. These were just like, 5 of you die by bullets. Nah, I don't want to spoil any of them. But the firework one was super cool. The fire arrow one. I suggest watching it. It's pretty fun. It ended well enough. It just got a little goofy at times. And it got, like I said, the games were unfair. So there wasn't any tension. Because you weren't like, oh, I wonder how many of them are skilled enough at this. Because there was no, the skill was almost never important. It was more just like, I wonder who's randomly going to get killed except the 2 main characters of the show. And then everybody gets killed except the 2 main characters. But I do like the world disappears and you are still there plot, like, not summary, not plot device. I like that concept. I like that initial theme, so I'm always interested in that. It was fun enough. Alice in Borderland. Pretty good if you like crazy weirdo shows. So I had cuy, I had guinea pig at this really great restaurant. It's outdoors, so all of the tables and everything, everything's outdoors. You can sit under umbrellas, under trees, in the courtyard of this restaurant. It's kind of expensive, I'll say that, but the food was really good. I got to try guinea pig for the first time. Super tender meat. Pretty tasty. But I also got this fruteada, which is very popular here. It's different fruits mixed in a chicha, usually the sugary corn beverage they have here. And I tasted it and I was like, oh, that's weird. But I drank it and it tasted like super strong fermentation. I used to make wine. And then I was like, oh, that's really strong. And I went to bed when I got home for like an afternoon nap, I guess. And then I got up and then I barfed. And I barfed 4 times and then I was okay. But it was pretty crazy. I think it was a bacterial infection in the fruteada because when I tasted it, there was a weird texture and it kind of tasted like wine gone bad, like homebrewed wine gone bad. So I think maybe it was old and they didn't switch it out or make a new one, and I just drank the old tainted one. I went back to that restaurant though, and the food is still really good. It's just that drink. At that time, I just got unlucky, I guess. Okay, speaking of making things cleaner though, DIY filter. I guess I didn't mention this yet, the water filter. So I love it when a apartment or house that I rent has a water filter in it. That's not very common. They usually do not, or they usually have an antiquated system that doesn't really filter the water much at all. I get, that's pretty common. Especially in Western countries, they'll show you, and this is the water filter, but it's clear that it has not been maintained at all and it doesn't really filter much. So here I am in Cusco, which is not super modern, but my condo is very modern. The only thing they don't have, they have like energy efficient appliances and whatever, hot water and new piping. It's all very nice. But they didn't have a water filter. And I know that you can filter water through activated carbon, and activated carbon, which is just if you burn like wood at a low heat, like a regular campfire heat, then it's going to turn into activated carbon when it burns, which is a very, very high surface area mineral. And because of its giant surface area, it filters extremely effectively. It even filters PFAs, for some people who asked about that when I posted about the water filter in the Lemmy community. Someone was like, doesn't filter PFAs, but activated carbon actually filters up to 100% of PFAs. Now, my homemade one probably doesn't, but I mean, I'll take what I can get. Filter up to 100%, that's pretty good. So I went to campfires and got a whole bunch of activated carbon because I noticed some campfires around here up by the ruins. And I put the like pieces of wood and stuff that I found into the blender here, blended them all up, got some really smooth activated carbon out of that very easily. And I put a little piece of cotton, like I bought some cotton at the pharmacy, and I put cotton and I poured the water through the cotton, and the taste was terrible. So even though it said there were no chemicals or artificial smells or perfumes, there was clearly something in that cotton that I got that said 100% cotton, because it tasted like perfumed, and that it didn't smell perfume, but it tasted like perfume. And the taste didn't go away even after like 20 flushes. So I just threw that away, went out, got a different brand that also said 100% cotton. And that one was, because I poured through water, and after like a flush, one full flush, it tasted like water. So on top of that layer, I put about 3/4 of an inch of activated carbon, and then another layer of, actually I didn't even put another layer of cotton. That's all I had. The cotton, then the activated carbon, and I poured in the water, and all the carbon went up and swirled around and got on the sides of the bottle. But when it filtered through, it did taste much cleaner, far fewer minerals. It just tasted like really good water. I was really excited about that. So I put in another layer of cotton on top of the first layer of carbon, and then I processed a bunch more of activated carbon, put on 2 inches or more of activated carbon in the fourth layer, cotton, activated carbon, cotton, activated carbon. Put on another layer of cotton, and then put some sterilized pebbles that I boiled on top of the cotton to hold it down, and that holds down the activated carbon, so when you pour in the water, it doesn't fly around everywhere. And that tastes pretty much like water. So now I'm using this DIY water filter that works super great and was very easy to make. You just cut out the bottom. So I just cut off the bottom of a regular water bottle, poked a hole in the cap that was still attached to the water bottle, so it filters out slowly too, so the water spends more time in the activated carbon. And it just, pours out in a very small stream when you pour it into the top. I have it upside down in a pitcher. So I boil water, let it cool down in just tap water, and then I pour that into the upside down water filter with the activated carbon. That's held up inside this glass pitcher I have. Then the water pours down into the glass pitcher and slowly filters out, and a bunch of the minerals are out because the taste is way better. It tastes basically like Brita filtered water. And I'm going to be using that from now on. If the place doesn't have a water filter in their house and I can find a campfire or an easy place to burn some scrap wood so I can make my own activated carbon, then I will make a water filter. And it's really funny because I've known activated carbon was a good filter for, I don't know, my whole life. I feel like I've always known that. And I've always thought about making a filter, but I never did. And when I finally decided to do it, I don't know, it took 10 minutes, maybe, tops, to actually put it together and have a working water filter. And then I just added another layer, and now it's I mean, it's a great water filter. I'm going to bring it to the next apartment I go to that's also in Cusco next week. Yeah, so if you need a homemade water filter, I recommend the upside down water bottle filter. Cut off the bottom, poke a hole in the cap, cotton, activated carbon, or just cotton, a whole bunch of activated carbon, little layer of cotton, some pebbles on top of that, and water filter. Done. I'm incredibly proud of that just because of the quality of the water that's coming out. It's really good quality. I played Silksong, and it was super fun. I'm replaying the original Hollow Knight now because everyone was saying Silksong is so much more difficult than the original Hollow Knight. And at least 2 of the bosses in Hollow Knight are more difficult than the final boss of the whole game in Silksong, but I see what they were saying. Silksong is faster in general. I didn't have a huge problem with it and was really surprised because I remembered Hollow Knight being difficult. But I'm kind of breezing through Hollow Knight now, and I think I'm just used to the mechanics of the games themselves. But Silksong, it seems like a very natural progression of the series. It is more difficult, it's faster, but it has all the basic elements that are the same. And so I don't think it's much more difficult, and you're faster too in Silksong. I think it's just, that's the next game. They made it better and faster and cooler. But the bosses themselves, except for one of them, I don't think are much more difficult than the bosses in Hollow Knight. In fact, they're definitely not, because the dream, after you beat the bosses in Hollow Knight, you can fight their dream version, and those versions are more difficult than pretty much all of the bosses in Silksong that I fought. They're much more random and much faster. Having said that, I love Silksong. I loved playing it, and I love Hollow Knight. I'm playing it right now on Twitch. I started a Twitch because I was going to just record them and make them videos for the Patreon, which I still might do. But I'm also playing Twitch because why not? I don't know. I've been thinking about it forever. I talked to a weird guy about it and a long time ago, and I decided not to do it. But I don't know. It seems fun. Can try it out since I'm recording these video game videos anyway. I figured why not try out Twitch. Been watching a lot of Alone, that survival TV show, which is awesome. I finished 20 Minutes Until Dawn, which is a super fun gunfighter game. I gave a homeless guy selling a bag of nothing free beer. He just had like all this trash he was carrying around selling to people. And I was eating a ceviche sitting on a wall, just enjoying my lunch. And he walked up and talked for a little bit, and then he asked if he could have just a little bit of my beer that was already open. And I was like, and I just gave him one of the beers out of the 6-pack. Because I've been drinking a bunch of beer here. 5 beers for me was plenty. I think I only drank 3 when I did get home. So it was fine to give it to him and nice to share. And I do not give money or food or anything to homeless people very often because so many people need assistance. It seems unfair for me to give money to one person when literally hundreds of other people within half a mile radius also are looking for the same thing. And I don't usually. But this guy, I decided to give him a beer. He was very happy. We had a nice talk, and and I was happy. So it was a nice thing. I guess I have to talk about U.S. Americans concerned about Western Europe. I feel like I mentioned this before, right? U.S. Americans, when I tell them that U.S. Americans can travel to 180 countries visa-free or visa on arrival, and most countries cost $500 USD to live and the rest cost $1,000, the first thing they say is, not Western Europe. All the visas are really difficult, and they cost like $2,000 minimum per month to live in. Trust me, I lived in Europe. Or, I am German. And then I just send them screenshots of $300 apartments or $600 apartments in the expensive countries. I'm like, $600, you have $400 for groceries. That's definitely, you can easily live in Western Europe if you want to. But when Americans say Western Europe, US Americans, I don't even think they know exactly what they're talking about. I think they're just referring to countries in literally the west half of all of continental Europe. But Western Europe is like 7 countries, maybe 9 countries. It's not many countries. And there's 185 to 200 countries that US Americans can go live in. And it's not like they talk about Western Europe like as English-speaking, basically US American countries. But they're really not. Like if you go to Portugal, people aren't going to speak English with you. If you go to Spain, they're going to be speaking Spanish. If you go to France, for some reason, US Americans think that Western Europe is a copy of the US, but those are not English-speaking countries. Those are literally just a handful, a little more than a half dozen countries in the western half of Europe, not in the very west of Europe. So when I'm talking about how you can live in most countries, I'm talking about over 100 different countries you could live in for $500 per month. And the remaining, I don't know, maybe 30 countries would cost up to $1,000 per month to live in. But most countries, as in 100, 150 of them, $500 per month. And in Western Europe, some of those are the more expensive countries. Most of those are more expensive countries, but those are only 7 or 9 countries. And I never recommend people go to Western Europe first. It's more expensive than most of the rest of the world. It's nice. I mean, go there to visit or whatever, but if you're moving for financial desperation or to go teach English or you just want to see new things, Western Europe isn't what I would immediately recommend to people. You go fly to Asia and you're going to be fish out of water. You'll feel fish out of water if it's your first time traveling in Western Europe. But given that most of the 8 billion people on the planet say that they don't have enough money and that's why they are having trouble, when I recommend people who don't have enough money, I'm never recommending Western Europe. You're going to be paying closer to $1,000 a month, which is still cheap. But if you're worried about money, why not pay $300 to $500 a month instead of $1,000 a month? So this is just for the US Americans who, when they hear that it costs $500 up to $1,000 to live per month around the world, and you think, not in France. Yes, in France, but much more importantly, there are another 200 countries. Even if you take all of Western Europe, there's 190 other countries that I'm mostly talking about because I'm interested in the whole world, not just a half dozen countries in the very far west of Europe. I think those countries get reported on more often in the news, and that's why people think of them as more important and maybe even bigger. But those aren't particularly large countries. England, Germany, France, whatever, those are just a couple medium-sized countries in one part of the world. But there's another 190 countries out there to consider. And you should consider them because they're just as fascinating as any of those very few countries that you read about in the newspaper sometimes. For my money, they're more interesting, but everybody, if you want to live in Western Europe, that's fine. But when I'm talking about how you can live for under $500 in most of the world, I'm talking about 150 countries. And $1,000 in the rest of the world, I'm still talking about 30, 40 countries, not just those 6 countries on the very western edge of Europe. I don't want to be scolding anybody, but when I am talking about living around the world, I mean all 200 countries, not Western Europe. And I'll say, most people understand that. It's very much the limited isolation of US Americans that seem to give that idea to them, that there are only those 7 countries outside of the US. Dang, sorry for these dogs going nuts. Can you hear the dogs? I thought I would do a ramble on during the day because it's not too loud, and then all the dogs start going crazy, which factors into a story down the line. Strawberries. Bought some fresh strawberries from the locals that come down from the mountains with all their produce. got like huge, I don't know, it was $3 maybe. It was a little less than $3. And I got a kilogram. That's 2.2 pounds of fresh strawberries. And I ate half of them, and then I got tired and left them on the counter, and some of them went bad, and I feel bad about that. But I ate most of them. I just cut off the bad parts, but they were really good strawberries. I just can't eat too much citrus fruit, or I couldn't before, because it would give me those cankers because they're sugary and... But I might have mentioned this, since I started brushing my toothpaste with the little bits of activated charcoal or activated carbon, those instantly get rid of cankers and sores in my mouth. So now I can eat as many kiwis or oranges or even apples or strawberries as I want, and I can get the cankers, and then I can go brush my teeth with activated carbon, and it goes away. I can't believe it's such a simple miracle cure that I've never heard about. It's not on Earth Clinic also, so I'm gonna add it to Earth Clinic. Actually, I have to write that down right now because I keep meaning to add it to the solutions that activated carbon does. It's so effective. Okay, what else is effective? Putting pizza seasonings on potato chips is very effective. I went to the grocery store and I was getting some potato chips because I've been making this mix of vegetables with a bunch of sauces, and then I eat it like a dip with potato chips, and it's so good. And I got to try these limited edition pizza chips, and it just happened to be the last one on the shelf, like this little pouch of artisanal, locally made pizza chips. And they tasted fine. I think they have different pizza flavors up here in Peru, but they were tasty, and I was glad I got to try them. Oh, my friend got her landlord listening to this podcast and took a video of her listening to the podcast while doing the dishes, which was great because that's about as much as I have ever hoped for the success of this podcast. If anybody is, folding their laundry or doing the dishes or jogging and listening to this podcast, that was my goal when making it. I was like, if someone actually enjoys listening to any part of this while doing a menial task and this makes it a little less boring, I've done it. I've achieved my aims. Yeah, so shout out to Dishwashing Landlord if you're still listening. Let's see. I'm helping someone move out of the US right now. I mean, giving advice and encouragement. And they made the decision to leave quite soon. They were planning on leaving a couple weeks, but it might take longer. But they're really making steps. Got their passport, researching apartments in other countries, and I helped them refine their search so that they could find the cheaper apartments. But it sounds like they're going to do it, and I hope they do, because they sound like they're struggling in the US, as most people struggle in the US. And as soon as you're not in that country, your cost plummets down to $500 USD per month for rent, food, Wi-Fi, groceries. And then you can just chill out. You work, 7-10 hours a week maybe, and then do whatever you want to do the rest of the time. We were talking about Silksong, so that's why I started playing it. I found out it was finally out. So that guy, when he gets out of the city, can just play Silksong for a week or two, which is a great way to use your time. Enjoy your life. Enjoy it. That's what traveling gives you. You get so much free time back. You get to choose how to live your life. That's what I find so great about traveling and living abroad. So, yeah, I hope it works out great for this guy. I have written down the Calejito trees, those weird spearmint trees, but I think I talked about those a whole bunch the last time before I talked about the amazing Incan ruins. So we can move on from that. Okay, I rendered bacon fat from the bacon I cooked so that I could cook French fries in it, like fry some potatoes up in the bacon fat, but I keep forgetting and haven't done it yet. So I'm going to get some potatoes today and try and make some French fries with bacon fat. Oh, it's going to be so messy, though. Bacon fat is so messy. Whatever. Maybe I won't. Who knows? Rendered some bacon fat. Oh, do you watch Workaholics? Season 6, episode 3, Save the Cat. Jillian and Blake adopt a cat, and there's the funniest part in the whole freaking show. It's so funny where they're all walking out the door and Jillian's holding the cat and Adam screams at it, meow, meow. Like he's talking cat to the cat. And then Anders waves, bye cat, and screams in its face as he's leaving also. And I made a t-shirt out of the bye cat moment because I was just walking around for a week saying, bye cat, and just screaming it over and over again, laughing so loud to myself. And then I was like, okay, just make a shirt out of it. And that did work. I creatively exercised that demonic exclamation. Okay, so I like the apartment I have now. It's enormous. It's one of the largest places I've ever rented. It's not too expensive. It's $400 per month. But I was looking around on Cusco for the next month, and that second place I'm going to get is $100 cheaper. So it's a little more than $100 cheaper. So the next one is also a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, giant living room, giant kitchen, washing machine condo. At least it looks like that in the pictures. We'll see when I get there. And it's less than $300. So that's a pretty good. And I asked these guys if I could get a discount if I stayed a second month, and they basically said no. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get this idea. Oh, also, it's like a 2-minute walk from this place. It's super close to this place. So I'm gonna leave this with my backpack, walk for maybe 5 minutes. I don't know. It's pretty close, and then take a left to the new apartment. It might even be on the same street. I'm not sure yet because I don't have the exact address, but I'll message and get the exact address soon. This says I had my first Rey de la Morena in a thunderstorm. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the Rey de la Morena is. But there have been a lot of rains and thunderstorms lately, which I have been enjoying immensely. Walking around in the drizzling rain. Yeah, it's been really fun with all the rain here lately. Tell me if you can hear those dogs, because if you can, I won't do this during the day again. I'm very sensitive to loud noises, but I don't know if the microphone's picking up those dirty dogs. I've been having really good local food lately. Like a lot, actually. Criollo caldo, Creole soup. It's this spicy soup with quinoa and, I don't know, milk and butter and vegetables and meat and a whole bunch of stuff. And all the food here is 7 or 8 soles, which is $2, basically. And you get 2 or 3 plates of food. So I got res de norteña, which is, first you get the appetizer, which is a large bowl of caldo criollo, the Creole soup. And that would be enough for a meal for me. That's a large bowl of soup with grains in it and vegetables and meat. And then you get the main dish, which is res de norteña, which is stewed beef, rice, a whole bunch of vegetables, a baked potato, like a hubcap plate of this stuff. And so you have even more food. And then they usually give you chicha. There might be some bread or something, but you get a lot of food at these local places. And I've been liking a lot of stuff. I didn't like everything. There was this green pesto noodles, and the pesto was actually good, but the noodles were spaghetti and they were just too thick for the pesto sauce for me. The pesto tasted good, but too many noodles, I guess. Maybe there was just too many noodles. I still ate some of it. What other great local food? I just had chicken noodle soup yesterday. Huge, I had to use my salad bowl for the chicken noodle soup. You get so much food with every meal you buy. And everyone here in Cusco is well fed. I will say that. I mean, you can get such good food so easily. They have skewers of beef, like barbecued beef and chicken. Those are 3 soles, so a little less than $1. And man, I went to a bunch of those. I went to a few different people grilling beef, and then I found this one lady who must have marinated and tenderized hers first because they were absolutely delicious. I got a yuquita. A yuquita is like a baked cassava, which is so creamy and smooth compared to a baked potato. I was blown away by how smooth the cassava was. It was totally delicious. And there was meat, eggs, vegetables, and then a spicy sauce on top inside this baked potato. And you can choose the spicy sauce, of course. And I was like, yeah, I need a lot because that's my freaking favorite. Really good. So with all these good foods and I got a bunch of. I've been getting fruits lately. The fruits are super fresh up here in Cusco, but I got a bunch of sugary and sweet ones and sour ones, and I got cankers in my mouth. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but I have to. Even if I already have, I should just say it again. When I brush my teeth with the activated carbon little pellets, completely erases the cankers, the little sores I get in my mouth if I eat too much sour or sweet food. Those last for 2 weeks generally, like 1 to 2 weeks. And I grew up never knowing how to deal with them. Oh, I think I did talk about this, right? Whatever. Sorry if you've already heard this, but it's still boggling my mind. If I have any canker or sore in my mouth, after I brush my teeth with the activated carbon, it's gone. There's not like a waiting moment of a few days or whatever. It's gone. It just goes away. It's so crazy. So I thought I should mention that again. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this thing, and I will talk to you soon. You can hit me up at bitofarambler@gmail.com or bitofarambler on Blue Sky or Lemmy, and I'll talk to you. We can chat. Have a good rest of your day and week, month of your life.